Varsha, why is it significant for the Global South to be taking such initiative?
I always think of this, the image that I saw when I walked into the Peace Palace in the Great Hall of the Peace Palace in The Hague, where the International Court of Justice is housed. And when you walk into the Great Hall, it's actually not a great hall at all. It's quite tiny, which is obviously the first surprise. But the second is it has these beautiful stained glass windows all around it. And when you look at the stained glass windows, I discovered that they were a donation from Andrew Carnegie, $1 million or $2 million worth. But they're supposed to display what's called the evolution of progress, right? And the evolution of legal progress, which is really about rule of law. When you dig into what this evolution of progress was, you find out that it's about the idea of rule of law coming from civilized Europe and civilized Western societies to the rest of the world that in these stained glass windows are still stuck in primitivity. And my time of encountering these stained glass windows was as a part of the South Africa delegation when we brought the Genocide Convention case against Israel. And I remember looking at our side of the aisle, me and Indian, my fellow South Africans, and everyone else was helping us and thinking, well, none of us can see ourselves in these stained glass windows, right? And if we do, then we have to see ourselves stuck in primitivity, apparently waiting for, Western societies to tell us about values of justice and liberation. So that was quite an odd moment. But then experiencing the incredible case and seeing the power of what it meant to speak truth in the world's top court, especially a truth that had been denied by the press, by Israeli state officials, by presidents of the United States that have been repeating lies and falsehoods, or we know to be falsehoods, from their seat in the White House, realize how incredibly powerful it is, and precisely why we were attracting the kind of reaction that we were, which is that these institutions were never meant for us in the first place. They were only meant for us to be prosecuted in and persecuted in, not for us to be protagonists in. The International Criminal Court, especially in diplomatic circles and in personal conversations, would jokingly be referred to as the black man's court, because forever this is all we knew of the court, that it would be used against our leaders, so especially leaders that were working for liberation of countries in the Global South. So that's, I think, really what is incredibly offensive to a great many people out there, political analysts and political leaders. The Global South has decided to subvert these institutions and has entered them and is now using it against them, which is quite a shock. And one of the ways in which you can see that is actually looking at the United States' reaction. They are very happy with the ICC when it's prosecuting people that they want prosecuted, as is the case with Congolese leaders, for example, on whose head, in fact, the United States put a reward amount after the ICC started going after him to say, if you have any information about this, the United States will pay you money to find out about the whereabouts. But when it comes to prosecuting its war crimes in Iraq, of course, you see sanctions. And now, once again, you see when you see Global South countries asking for accountability for its war crimes, and I would say it is United States war crimes in Gaza and in the occupied Palestinian territories, once again you see sanctions. So it's not really an objection to the institutions, it's an objection to the Global South using the institutions that should have been in only their control as they wield the vetoes in the Security Council, for example. They don't really care about the General Assembly because they know it doesn't have any power. But here, where institutions like the ICC do have any power, you immediately see them come down on it with full-blown sanctions. So part of our attempt here is not just to salvage these legal institutions as is, or save them and protect them, but really to enter them and reform them in the process of salvaging and saving them in this moment of real threat, where the US is taking a sledgehammer to all any semblance really of international order.